In 1993, a group of us, especially we had quite a few guys out of Vice Intelligence Division, and we were on a softball team called City Heat. Well, that was our softball team name.
Where did you come up with these names,
City Heat, you know. But anyway, we were out playing softball one night, and we had a lieutenant, and he was about crazy anyway, so we never knew exactly what to expect
exactly
out of him.
which one you're talking about, too.
So we're out playing softball, and we're in the field. We're not batting, so we're in the field, and Lieutenant Larry Drone walks through the gate, walks across the foul line. Umpire's going, "Hey, get off the field," and he's like, "Hey, screw you, whatever." And he just stands on the field and starts calling all of us to come to him. We're like, "What is this crazy son of a gun want?" So anyway, we come off the field. He says, "Listen, go home, get you a shower, pack a bag, tell your family you don't know when you'll be back home."
Whoa.
Okay, LT. So, we all went, packed us a bag, told our families, we don't know when we'll be back, and we left. He said, "Meet us at the CID conference room." So we get down to the CID conference room.
Now, what were you in at that time?
I was in Vice Intelligence.
You were in Vice Intelligence?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
So this was in 93. So we get down to CID conference room, and, man, there's FBI agents from all over the southeastern United States here. They've got all kind of equipment set up in the CID conference room. We're like, what is going on here? Well, come to find out, the president of Southwest Bank here in Dothan, a man named Pierce Flatt, his wife, Miss Nell Flatt, had been kidnapped for ransom.
What?
Had been kidnapped from her driveway that afternoon. I think it was probably around 3:30 in the afternoon, I think, when she was kidnapped. She went and bought groceries and come home, was kidnapped there in her driveway. Well, they started getting some ransom calls, to her husband. Well, anyway, that's why they called all of us in. But, man, we had it was Dothan PD and FBI working this case. We had to keep it really quiet because you couldn't get out anything to the media on it. You had to be really, really highly confidential. Well, anyway, they started tracking phone calls. Actually, prior to that, the ransom, I'm not going to really reveal what the ransom was, but it was in hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they actually put myself and another investigator in the old Southwest Bank building over on the Circle, which is they later sold out to Wells Fargo. But they put us in the bank building that night, and we actually photocopied several $100,000 to go along with some they already had photocopied for the ransom money.
Yeah.
We also looked at some files, and we were trying to figure out motive and maybe who the suspects were. And think about technology in 1993 wasn't as it is now. So anyway, these kidnappers had Miss Flatt. They put her in the trunk of a car and drove her all over South Central, Southeast Alabama.
She's kidnapped out of Dothan, Alabama?
Yeah, she's kidnapped out of Dothan. They ride her around in a trunk. She's bound and gagged in the trunk of a car. I think they were, feeding her some cheese crackers every once in a while, that kind of thing, something to drink. But they were calling in from different payphones, for these ransom calls. Well, FBI was tracking these calls as quickly as they could with the technology that was available at the time, and they would say, okay, they're at this payphone at the. I think there was one call come in from Greenville, over on I-65. They're at the this truck stop on Greenville and I-65 or whatever, and so. Somebody get over there. They couldn't find them. They were gone, long gone. So this went on, man. This whole operation went for a period of 48 hours, or maybe a little more. But anyway, we ended up getting her back safely. The story goes, we were all teamed up. I was driving a Ford Thunderbird at the time, so all of us narcs had pretty cool cars. We were teamed up with FBI agents, so it was like me and another FBI guy out of Mobile teamed up together. And they're tracking these calls, over and over and over, and say, hey, they're coming in from there. Well, they got a call coming in. It's from the Burger King at 431 North and Ross Clark Circle. So officers get over there, guy's already gone. So me and the guy that was riding with me, we're up on 231, up around the Dale County line. A little while later, we got another call coming in. It's coming in from the BP station across the road from Troy University, Dothan. And guess where we were at? We were southbound right there at Troy University when they gave that out. I looked to the left, and the guy's on the phone.
No.
He's on the phone. I can still see the guy on the phone. I can still see the car, everything. He's on the phone. I said, here, we got him. He's right here. And I give him a description of the car. Well, we had a plane up. We had like 32 cars, we had 32 two-man cars, best I remember, out there on the surveillance detail. So anyway, okay, we put the plane on the guy. He wants to do a ransom drop up just north of Ozark. So we got an FBI HRT guy in the floorboard of Mr. Flatt's truck. And the instructions were to put all this money in a banker's box and, push it out the window when he gave the signal. Well, this guy was doing all kind of counter surveillance. Anyway, he would pull up behind, he'd flash his lights or whatever, and Mr. Flatt would pull off in the median, and the guy would pull off behind him, and before he could, throw the money out in the median, the guy would take off again. He was doing all kind of counter surveillance. But we had so many cars and a plane, so we really didn't have to get close to him or give our position up to keep surveillance on him.
Yeah.
And we had coverage for Mr. Flatt there in the floorboard of the truck with the HRT guy there. So anyway, this guy for like 45 minutes, he just kept up and down, up and down. He'd turn up side roads and everything else, doing counter surveillance, trying to pick up, any law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So finally, I guess he was satisfied there was no law enforcement involved, and he pulled up, flashed the lights. He took the money in his possession, and with the surveillance team that we had with all the different officers and the plane, we followed this guy almost to Clanton, which is between Montgomery and Birmingham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From just north of Ozark. So anyway, during that time frame, we got word that Miss Flatt, she had been put out of the car on the interstate near Prattville, and she had made it up the hill. Best I remember, she went to a Waffle House.
So she was put out of the car.
And called her husband, and we found out she was safe. So ended up taking that guy down up in the Clinton area, and got the other guy that was involved in the case too. So it was a very long and extended operation, 48 hours with no sleep whatsoever, running down leads and trying to pick up where these guys were at, and trying to thinking the worst, really, because most of the time these kidnappings for ransom don't turn out very well. The victim is usually found dead somewhere else, and we were very happy to get her back. She was severely traumatized for the rest of her life, I'm sure. But,
sure she is.
But she was alive, and her and Pierce lived out their lives together here in Dothan for a long period of time.
I'm going to assume, otherwise I know you would have told me or told us that guy was taken down without a shot fired.
Yeah, no shots fired.
Here's the takeaways that I get out of all that. Again, all this occurred in Dothan, Alabama.
No.
People in southeast Alabama, that stuff doesn't happen here, but that occurred in Dothan, Alabama, an actual kidnapping of a bank president.
Yeah. You don't see many true, most kidnappings are either sexually based,
domestic
or
in
they're
nature.
domestic. They're a non-custodial parent that kidnaps someone, or somebody kidnaps someone to rape them and kill them, that kind of thing. But to have a true ransom kidnapping is really pretty rare.
Far in between.
You don't see a whole lot of those.
You guys were able to take him down. Case number, thing number 2, take him down without and get everybody involved in it without a shot ever being fired.
Yeah.
And the fact that she lived.
Right.
That's what, that's amazing. You don't hear a lot of that.
Yeah. It was really, that's one of the tiredest times I've ever been. There's been 2 or 3 times during my career that I have stayed up for 45, 48, 50 hours straight working, and that was one of those times.
Was there ever a time in all that, though, that you would have sat there unless you were forced to and pulled away from it?
No,
absolutely
we never left. It was good. And that's one of the things I talk about during some of my presentations. One of the characteristics that I believe that you absolutely have to be an effective law enforcement officer is commitment. Mm-hmm. And we were committed to doing everything we could do to get her back. It didn't matter if we slept, didn't matter if we ate, didn't matter if we had contact with our families or whatever the case would be. We just need to get, that was our one singular goal, was to get her back safely. And I remember we stopped in Montgomery there on the Eastern Bypass at a Waffle House. Yeah. Got our bellies good and full, and then we were headed back. And man, I tell you what, about down to the where the Sykes and Conn's Country Mall is right there. I got so tired, I done run off the road about 3 or 4 times trying to get back to Dothan. I finally pulled over, and told my FBI guy, I was like, "Listen, you got to drive a little bit, man, and let me catch at least 15, 20 minutes of sleep or something."
That ain't nothing to do with how long you stayed up. I've seen you eat at a Waffle House. That's because you were so full. So
that too. So, but that was one of the That was one of the, I'll say, the best cases I've ever got to work on during my career.
That sounds like
it was a really good one, very successful operation, and it was we got her back safely, and that's all that mattered.
That mattered.
Yeah.